childhood started, I was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was actually introduced into sci-fi at a very early age. I was watching Terminator 2 and Aliens when I was like 5. So like since then I've always been like, that is the coolest storytelling that can ever be done. And you know, growing up in an Asian family, hey daddy, mommy, I want to be an actor model. It's kind of frowned upon in that I played piano, had 4.0 GPA kind of thing, you know. That's what they all wanted. So I went to college in UW Milwaukee first for engineering. Asian.
I can't tell you how many Asian actors were engineers in college, I swear.
Dude,
it's like, that's what your parents want, that's what you do, right?
It gets worse.
Oh no.
So I couldn't do it. Just too much math. Too much math. But then, so I switched over to graphic design since I've always had more what I think of a creative side. Went to Edgewood for about a semester, but then I decided, no, I didn't want to sit in front of a computer all day just doing posters for these people, and it took the creativity out of it. At least that's how I felt. So I took up biology in MATC. From there on, I switched to med school in UW-Madison, and I was going to get my nursing degree, become a male nurse, you know, close enough to being a doctor.
Without a gazillion years in school,
Yeah, I know,
right?
right? During that, I took up modeling, and my agency at the time, the Rock Agency, they submitted me to IMDb. I mean, not IMDb, IMTA. IMTA, and that was in New York. They have one in New York and one have in LA, where it's just a big collection of agencies from all over the world who want to see like new faces. And there is where I was introduced to David Van Doe, and that gentleman is actually the reason why I was fortunate enough to pursue what I really wanted. He looked at me and he said, like, is acting really what you wanted to do? And from my monologue, he saw something, and he granted me a scholarship to the New York Film Academy. Almost finishing, I decided, no, I've always wanted to be an actor, always wanted to be in this field of work. So I decided, instead of taking like a temporary leave from school, I decided just to drop out completely. Like, point of no return, kind of. I just burned everything behind and went out to New York. And out there, it was kind of rough. But I got to experience, it was fortunate enough because I went to the New York Film Academy in New York. They did a lot more stage and training, actually. And I got to also experience the film side of New York, which was very indie friendly, I like to say. It's just, it's not as industrial or like commercialized as Hollywood is, but you know, Hollywood's where you want to be. So after I graduated, I just moved out here, and that was starting 2012 actually, the March of 2012. So I've been here for about a year and 2 months now.
Was Halo like the first thing that you had an opportunity to really act in while you were here?
Well, that was actually shot in New York.
Oh, was it? Okay,
Yeah,
so that's New York.
I met a director through New York Film Academy, and
Dan,
yes. Yeah. And Love Heist was actually also directed from him. That's how I first met him. And from there on, he's like, hey, my thesis, I want to do this project. Would you like to be part of it? And I was like, you know, I haven't played Halo. I like Halo, so of course. That project actually blew up because it was, Halo had a really strong fan base to begin with. And at that time, there was a lot of fan films being made until Microsoft themselves decided to make Forward Unto Dawn.
Right.
So at that time, Helljumper, that was the series, had a lot of publicity, and so that's where my acting career kind of took off from there. It was his first like major project, and you can't, you know, young director thinking he's doing something cool. So that did give me some cool stuff with the reel. So in the end, that's pretty cool. But it did help me also at the same time discover like what roles I should apply for, what fits me the most. So I do have a lot of projects on my IMDb, but I seem to get typecasted a little bit.
So what I want to do is I want to find out, because there's two things. It's how significant a role it is,
Okay.
and also roles that you really enjoyed. So for example, a bodyguard, maybe it's a significant role and it's a really great role, and maybe it's just a bodyguard. Right?
Well, actually, I like that bodyguard one because the film was called Betrayal,
Uh-huh.
and I got to work with both Rick Young, a classic actor, and Eric Roberts, actually. So he just came in, met with everybody, even though we were, lesser roles almost. But I got to really experience how these actors, like, I got to see them work, and it was just one of the most amazing things.
Right.